Hello everyone and welcome back. So what's on tap for today? Well, we've got another reaction video. This it's our favorite progressives, the Young Turks, who I like to call the Yellow Turkeys, or their Nam de Plume, the Young Jerks, Cenk Uygur, and Ana Kasparian. Hey, they are basically going after Matt Walsh, folks. That's right. They said Matt Walsh got crushed at the hearing with the Tennessee Democrats about the new transgender bill that they're about to pass in Tennessee. Anyways, we're going to get to all that. You be the judge for yourself. Before we do so, we'd just like to let you know you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. I want you to like, share, and follow us. Hit that subscription bell. Hit that notification bell. Let's get to that video right now.
My name is Matt Walsh. I'm here as a husband, father, and concerned citizen of the state of Tennessee. And I want to thank the committee for allowing me to speak and for all of you on the committee who support this important legislation.
The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh testified before the Tennessee House of Representatives to share his views on a bill known as House Bill 1 that could ban gender-affirming care in the state of Tennessee. Now, I don't think he was prepared for the Democratic lawmakers to ask him the questions they asked him, which was amusing to say the least. But I will say I watched the entirety of the hearing, and it was a fascinating hearing. There was testimony from people who want to ban gender-affirming care. There was testimony from individuals who are transgender themselves and obviously they talk about how gender-affirming care positively impacted their lives. There were even individuals who testified to say that they thought they were transgender. They went through some of the process to transition, including things like hormone blockers, and then they later regretted it. And I think that that kind of testimony is important to kind of get a robust idea of what's really transpiring and how people feel about this. With that said, we'll show you some of the clips of Matt Walsh floundering in just a moment. But here are a few more details about HB 1. It would put a hard...
Now, before we go any further, this is typically what the Young Jerks, the Young Turks do with their progressivism. They're not going to show you everything. They're just saying, oh, Matt was floundering. He got crushed. I watched the entire hearing with Matt Walsh. Did they bring some questions against him? Yes, but if you take a look at those questions, they had nothing to absolutely do with the bill at hand. It was all this other stuff, like what you did before. Are you a doctor? Can you read? Can you write? All those things. And what these guys do is they spin. They are the spin meisters. Goebbels would be proud of these guys in most of their instances, okay? And I'm telling you that after you take a look at this, if you can actually basically see something, I urge you to go to the actual, video where Matt testified. But we're going to comment and we're going to analyze and react. I'm going to react to what their reaction is and basically say, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But you've got to hear the whole thing in context, and then you'll see Matt ate those guys for absolute lunch, folks. You talk about being obliterated. It was the Tennessee Democrats that got obliterated. Anyways, let's continue.
Stop on any gender-affirming care that would help minors identify with or live as a purported identity inconsistent with their sex assigned at birth. It's essentially the same type of bill that other conservative states have either proposed or passed recently. The bill was proposed after Matt Walsh and others attacked Vanderbilt University Medical Center for providing...
They didn't attack, they protested, which is what they do, okay? Attack is what progressives do, it's what liberals, leftists, Marxists, socialists do. Protest is what conservatives do. All right, Anna, just mansplaining to you, honey.
Gender-affirming care to minors. And guys, it's really important to know this because when they talk about gender-affirming care, I think, oftentimes the left responds with, we're not doing surgery on minors. But there are instances of surgeries being done on minors, and Vanderbilt University Medical Center has admitted as much. So the gender-affirming care program was founded in 2018.
At least these guys admitted that there is gender-affirming care and genital mutilation surgeries that are going on minors. Not just a couple a year, but we're talking hundreds to thousands a year, okay? Hundreds, somewhere in that, 100 to, if you take a look across the spectrum, they're occurring, folks. They are.
University has started or stated that it did perform 5 gender-affirming surgeries a year on minors in the years since the program was founded, but none were genital procedures. So when we talk about the surgeries, it's probably top surgery that they're referring to, okay?
I see.
Yeah. So with that said,
Yeah, because most guys don't want to have their penises chopped off or mutilated. That's probably the reason why.
According to the Tennessean, the hearings for this bill have been pretty packed, and just watching it, you can tell how much interest it's generating. One transgender teenager testified and said this: "You think that you're protecting people like me, but you aren't. Taking away our medical care won't prevent us from being transgender, but it could prevent us from being safe, healthy, and happy." I want to also note there was another individual who had, again, started the transition process, had top surgery, meaning a double mastectomy, and then regretted it. And so that testimony is just as important, right? So I don't want to minimize what that person went through. With that
said, I'm glad they brought this thing up here. I have to give credit where credit is due. They are bringing up that side of the story too. That girl is going to go, whatever she's going through, it is going to be something that she is going to have to live with for the rest of her life, both the physical and the mental scars as well. And this was probably done at the behest of people pushing her to that extreme, and her being confused and not knowing what to do, and listened to advice from people that they shouldn't have been listening to. Anyways, let's continue.
Said though, let's go to Matt Walsh. Let's start with him getting called out on his past comments in regard to minors and how at 16 they're old enough to have kids. Let's watch.
Hey.
People testified today that they had their gender-affirming surgery at 16. And I know you in former comments mentioned this on your blog. At about 16, you're an adult who is mature and can make decisions. You're that at 16. I don't care what anybody says. Even going so far as to say, 16 people, when you're 16, you should be married and could be pregnant or should be pregnant. So I'm curious if 16 is an adult in your view. Why does this bill have the minor defined as 18?
Mr. Walsh, recognized.
That's a hit piece you took from Media Matters, from something when I was a radio host 13, 14 years ago, in my early 20s. It's also not an accurate reflection of what I actually said. Ever since.
Now, this is basically what he said. They unearthed a rant advocating for the impregnation of 16-year-old girls because it's when they're technically at their most fertile. He claims it's not a teenage pregnancy problem, but a non-marriage problem. This is what they're basically saying. We're talking about gender-affirming care. We're talking about gender mutilation surgery. And they're talking about when he was in his 20s as supposedly a shock jock on a radio show, he talked about the fact that, girls could get pregnant at 16. And of course, they can get pregnant a lot at a younger age than that. And he basically said it wasn't a teen pregnancy problem. He was saying it was that they weren't getting married. Only later on, he talked about, that the stigma sort of, came away and said, it doesn't matter if you're married and have kids. That's all that was. He didn't get clobbered with the question. Talked about it when he was in his early 20s as a shock jock. This is unbelievable. Anyways, let's continue.
Teenage girls have been getting pregnant, but to all of a sudden act like this phenomenon of girls getting pregnant at a young age that we consider young, 16 or 17, to act like it's a new thing is ridiculous. It's always been that way. Recently, in the last 30 years or so, we decided that that's way too young to start a family. Why?
Oops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oops. They're equating that it's way too young, that lately we've just decided it's way too young for a 16-year-old to start a family. And he asks the question, why? And they're trying to equate getting married, which is something that you can annul with a signature or get a divorce later on or whatever. But they're equating that by saying, oh, because he said that they could be married when they're 16, why can't they go ahead and have gender mutilation surgery and chop off their breasts or cut off their penises or put a vagina in place or do something that's going to completely alter your body? Why can't you do that when you're 16? I would like to ask that Democratic congressman or the Democratic, whatever he is, council member, when he's asked a question, I would like to ask him a simple question. Sir, are you part of SIMR? That's my acronym, SIMR. Are you part of SIMR, which is the club, basically, which is stupid, idiotic, moronic, and retarded? Is that who you are? I mean, you're equating marriage with genital mutilation surgery? These guys are absolutely, these guys are evil, the way they try to put these questions together and say, oh, you got obliterated. No, he didn't. There was a hit piece, and he can equate marriage with genital mutilation. Oh my God. Let's hear what the Cenk has to say now.
And by the way, and this from the guys who call everyone else groomers. Okay, so if they weren't calling everybody else groomers and you want to have a conversation about what happened in history, that's a different thing, okay? But you go out there and smear everyone, and all of a sudden we find tape of you saying like 16-year-olds, I mean, shouldn't they get pregnant? You know what I'm saying? Well, all right, well, that's on you, brother.
That's when they're the most fertile.
Yeah, so, okay.
And first, that's not what he said. He said if they're running around and they're getting pregnant at 16, he didn't say that that's what they should be doing. Idiot.
Look, in terms of the hearings, I love that the Democrats actually bothered to do their research and were aggressive in challenging. We're going to show you more tape of that in a second. That's wonderful. In terms of the bill that they're discussing, something a little shocking happened where they changed a part of the bill. And so that is very rare these days because people are so entrenched in their camps. But so this is to block not just surgery for minors, but it's also to block gender-affirming care that relates to hormone therapy.
Right.
Okay. And so the Democrats tried to get them to split the bill. The Republicans would not split it, and they said, no, we're going to block it all. And even though they heard all the testimony from people who were transgender, said they really needed, or they got it earlier in their lives and it made a giant difference. They saw all the data about how much it leads to suicides. If you don't allow it, they're like, we don't care. But they did actually change one part of the bill. I mean, this is such a low bar. This is the lowest bar in history. But they were going to call any gender-affirming care child abuse and maybe arrest the parents.
What?
Yeah, of course. They're Republicans. Don't get like... Come on, right? But to be fair to them, because we're the fairest show in America, after hearing the hearings, they did take that portion of the bill out.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
So there's one other thing I want to just quickly mention, because again, even though I'm sure just saying this and it's true, it's going to lead to backlash. I don't care. It's really important to get you guys the facts, and I feel terrible when I've said something that isn't 100% accurate. So previously when we've talked about hormone therapy or the puberty blockers, as it's called, I think I took what some on the left said about it at face value and didn't do proper investigation into it, because the idea is, oh, it's totally reversible, totally harmless, there's no issue with it. That's not entirely true, okay? So the problem is there's very limited research and data, and in the data that we have, in the research that we have, there are some bad side effects, right? So bone density, the impact on bone density is real, and that's a real concern. The other issue is it has some problems with fertility potentially if they're used too early in the person's life, okay?
Okay.
With that said, I just think it's important for you guys to know those details, but it's not up to me or Matt Walsh or any person to make that decision on behalf of transgender individuals, right? It's really, in my opinion, if it deals with minors, because when you think about the mental health component and how much it can improve their mental health, it's really up to the parents, the doctors, and of course the person, the minor in question, to make that decision and go through that process themselves. I'm not an expert on it. You get what I'm saying? I'm not a doctor.
Of course. Look, guys, if we lived...
Before we let Cenk give his, blah, 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 before he does that, at least I'll give credit where credit is due again. Ana has been wrong on so many things. I mean, it would take volumes of videos to make on the amount of stuff that she has been wrong on, because she hits it emotionally immediately. And because you're on the left, you just take it for face value. And then later you do your homework. At least she did her homework and found out that, yes, puberty blockers do cause infertility problems, and not just if you start them off too young. It doesn't, that has not been statistically been correlated as of yet. And do you want to take that chance and say, oh, the possibility might be that it just might not cause it if you just started, 3 months later, 6 months later? And then the fact in terms of bone density, we're talking about hormonal disruption. You're talking about, all kinds of things. And the reason why their studies haven't been done is because who would be stupid enough? Who would be retarded enough? Who would be moronic enough to say, you know what? Hey, let's get a bunch of kids. Let's do a long-term study on them, and let's give them drugs that are going to stunt their growth. They're going to put their hormones in complete reversal or suppress them completely. And let's do a long longitudinal study, 20, 25, 30, 40 years out, and see what happens to these kids so that we can decide, hey, you know what? I think it is kind of stupid to give hormone blocking drugs to children. And as far as talking about whose decision it is, medical people, the reasonable, that should know better, first do no harm. That's what you're taught as a medical doctor. Don't screw up. Don't harm the patient. Don't kill the patient. Don't do anything to the patient that could harm him. And we are giving children the decision-making ability to say, you know what? Yes, I want to go ahead and start taking some hormones. Yes, I want to go ahead and change my body structure. Yes, I want to go ahead and have top surgery. I want to have bottom surgery. And we're going to let a 12, a 11, 8, 9, 7, 6, whatever year age kid, we're going to let them do that? And you guys had the nerve to say that Matt Walsh was decimated, he was obliterated by this questioning? Unbelievable.
In a rational world, we could have a normal, rational discussion about, hey, wait, should we prevent surgeries before 18? And I might vote for that bill, okay? But if you start getting into, no, I'm not gonna let the parents decide about hormone therapy, or I'm not gonna let them decide about therapy, I'm not gonna let them decide about any of this stuff. I got a hell to the no on that. No, that's not your goddamn business. We believe in freedom, you believe in oppression, and we're not gonna stand for it. Now, if you're a family and you make the decision to get the puberty blockers, that's your call, okay? I don't know that I'd make the same decision. I might not. I'm not in that situation, right? If you're a family and you decide you don't wanna get it, great. You wanna get it, great, okay? And take your kids' well-being and their mental health as your primary objective, and I hope that parents do that, and we got to trust the parents to do that, okay?
Yes.
But the Republicans are saying, don't trust the parents. This is a war on parents, and remember, the original bill was...
The reason that we can't trust the parents in this regard is because the parents are getting the wrong advice. They're getting it from money-motivated medical establishments that can make hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. Do you know how much money you can make off of a child in terms of all the preclinical, meetings that have to go on, and then all of the psychiatric evaluations, psychological evaluations, all of that. Then on top of that, once that's done, then you're talking about hormone blocking therapy and the drugs that are being used. And then that's going to go on for some time in terms of months or years. And then maybe at that point in time, something goes wrong, or the child decides that, you know what, maybe the drugs aren't working, or there's some devastating side effects. So you have to stop, and now you have to reevaluate, and then again go through therapy, and then restart, and then finally come to the fact that, we guys, I think we're going to go ahead with the surgical part of this thing here. You're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Follow the money, folks. That's why when we say it's not a question of not trusting the parents, it's because the parents are being put in a precarious situation. They don't know. They're not medical doctors. They're not psychologists. They're not psychiatrists. They're just looking at it and being basically torn apart. And that's not right. And you should know better, Cenk.
Hey, it's child abuse. Let's arrest the parents.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
they hate freedom. And don't get it twisted. Don't lose, just because you can have a rational discussion about this, that doesn't mean you should give an inch to monsters like Matt Walsh, who keep going around talking, oh, it's mutilation, they're chopping up kids. And what happened?
That's exactly what they're doing. And somebody's got to do it, because Cenk, you certainly aren't protecting the children. You could give a damn. At least somebody's out there doing something.
They had bomb threats to the hospital where they could have actually gotten kids killed. So I'm not buying anything Matt Walsh is saying, and I'm glad they kicked the living crap out of him.
Obviously, I'm not either. I hope you guys are clear on that. But it is important to know the facts, and those are the facts as we know them now. And they're, hopefully they're doing more research and we'll have more data. But let's get back to the hearing itself.
Yeah, hopefully we do have more data and more research on giving kids drugs that are chemically castrating them. That's really intelligent, Ana. I don't know how much I have to do. Do I have to woman-splain that to you, or do I have to man-splain that to you? Unbelievable, honey. Unbelievably stupid, idiotic, moronic, and retarded.
He also got called out for not doing his research, so let's watch that.
Well, the claim that doing the chemical castration drugs or surgery or hormonal intervention, the claim that this prevents suicide or has positive psychological effects down the line is utterly, totally baseless. There are no credible long-term studies that bear that out.
You also stated there'd been no studies. Well, I'm sitting here holding a study from the American Academy of Pediatrics, from the University of Pittsburgh, about the suicidal disparities between transgender and cisgender adults and children. So I think, before you state things, you may need to know all the facts.
The Genesis
So Bo Mitchell, that idiot, he's also part of Simmer, stupid, idiotic, moronic, and retarded. That was such a deceitful way of basically having a piece of paper in your hand saying, hey, you know what, Matt Walsh, you ought to read this study before you go saying something you don't. I'm going to put up that study. I'm an MD. I read that study, and that study, exactly what Matt Walsh said, doesn't show anything. What that guy's writing in the paper saying, oh, that study supposedly says that if once they get the surgical, intervention, surgical mutilation, then there's no suicide. The suicide rate drops. That's what they're trying to imply. That's what these guys are going to try to imply. I'm going to take you to that link, show you that. It's a huge study. If you want to go to it, you can go to it yourself, all right? Look at it yourself and read it. You don't have to be an MD or a scientist to read a study, all right? These are very easy to read, and you can take a look at them at your own leisure. We're going to go to that right now. So this here is a study, American Association of Pediatrics, Suicidal Disparities Between Transgender and Cisgender Adolescents. This was back in 2019. Take a look at it. It was about 2,020 individuals between the ages of 14 to 18. Take a look at it yourself, and you'll come to the same conclusion. That guy holding it up didn't mean anything. Matt Walsh was spot on this thing here. Spot on. Let's get back to the video.
I got to be honest with you. I'm actually pretty shocked that Democrats in a red state are this good.
No, they were great. I'll take them over the National Democrats in a second. So Matt Walsh, of course, everything is a victimhood with the right wing. It's like, oh, you guys are making fun of my education. He didn't say it in those words, but basically he was implying that. I don't know if he graduated kindergarten. I don't know. I don't think he went to college. I'm not sure if he finished high school. I don't know what his story is, right? But I don't care about that. And guys, we've talked about this here before. I've hired tons of people without ever asking what college they went to, because I don't give a damn. What I care about is the size of the fight in the dog, okay? If you got passion and you're smart, that's what I care about. So this isn't about education shaming. But dude, you're not a doctor, okay? He's like, I kind of looked at this.
You don't have to be a doctor, you idiot, you simpleton, you moron. You don't have to be a doctor to read a study. All right? You don't have to go to journalism school to be in front of a camera. You don't have to go to journalism school to write a story. You don't have to do any of that. All right? You can look at a study and you can see for yourself. Now, there are some studies, okay, that are going to be using some obviously nomenclature and words and ways that they, did that. But this study, I'm telling you, you guys go read that study. It is very easy to read and spells it out very conclusively that those children, both male and female, who are going through this transgenderism phase, they commit suicide at a much higher rate than those that are not, in other words, are not transitioning, what they call just cis, remaining in their own gender, in their own selves. And that surgery, there's other studies out there that show that surgery does not help. The numbers are still the same. And he knows it, but he just wants to go ahead and make Matt look bad. And the only person you're making look bad here is yourself, Cenk, because you're showing yourself to be the one that probably, didn't even get through pre-K.
The studies, and I decided that they were chopping people up left and right because I'm so freaking smart, right? No, you're not. You're a moron. And you don't know anything about science. You didn't study any of it. And so you coming in going, oh yeah, but I eyeballed it, man. I eyeballed it. It's not really convincing.
Another representative went so far as to accuse Matt Walsh of exploiting this very serious issue for clicks. Let's watch.
What purpose do you conduct your research and use this brain of yours?
Mr. Walsh, you're recognized.
I use it for the purpose of trying to protect children from being castrated and mutilated. That's one of the things I try to do.
You don't use it to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You don't use it to get clicks on your publication?
Well, are you using it right now to try to get clicks with this interaction?
Oh, and they say that Matt got owned on that? That idiot Democrat council member or congressperson, whatever the hell he is, state senator, state representative. He just, are you doing it to use that brain of yours just to go ahead and get some clicks? What are you using your brain for? I'm using it to protect children. Boom! Mic drop. And then boom, when he says, are you using this to get clicks yourself there? Council member? Oh, and these guys are saying, oh, he got owned, he got destroyed, he got obliterated. It's clown world with these folks. It's clown world. Up means down, right means wrong, left means right. It's just opposite world with these guys. You look at it and you go, really? He got obliterated? He got destroyed with that? What am I in, bizarro world?
Yeah, okay. He's not a talk show host. You are, right? So the thing about entitlement with the Republicans is like, whenever there's a Democrat or a neutral party in congressional hearings, the Republicans light into them. Isn't it true that Twitter is shadow banning us? You monsters! We need to be put out front of everybody. Right? And then the minute they get pushed back.
I could do that too. And he's supposedly a trained journalist, I think, or whatever. I'm certainly not. Let me see if I could become a trained journalist just like Cenk. Oh, you know what Republicans are?
Back from a Democrat, they're like, what is this? Are you trying to get clicks? No, dude, your job is getting clicks.
Yeah, okay. Dude.
So is yours.
Anyway,
No,
by the way,
you're
notice
right.
he said castration, which is a lie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the problem with, honestly, discussion about these very real, nuanced, and complex issues, right? You have demagoguing, you have...
They're not nuanced issues. It's protecting children. Oh my God, nuance. You're nuance. You know what nuance is? Nuance is whether or not, you should smoke or not smoke. Nuance is whether you should take a puff or not. Nuance is whether we make marijuana laws or not. Okay? You're talking about mutilation, hormone suppression, infertility, lower bone structure, completely, completely emotional and physical and psychological trauma. And you call that nuance? I want to tear my freaking hair out when I hear these guys do this.
Of extreme, ridiculous, comments that are meant to demonize individuals who are trying to do the right thing and to help people who are struggling with their gender identity. It's really frustrating because, again, we're not talking about some little issue here. We're talking about people's lives. And having someone like Matt Walsh say the things he says in the way he says it doesn't actually lead to solutions or policy that is obviously accommodating to people who need help.
Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing.
Oh, yes, he did. He shut that thing down in Tennessee, honey. He shut it down. That's going to help a lot of people not make a stupid mistake.
Here, which is, there's an irony you should note. Remember, I used to be a Republican many, many decades ago, but I was. It's not like I don't know. It's not like I'm not open-minded. It's not like, I can't empathize with Republicans, okay? But these guys that lie for a living, like Matt Walsh, and that inflame everything. Oh, they're castrating and mutilating and chopping up babies. Well, you're a goddamn monster, okay? Because that stuff's not true, and you're trying to get lunatics in your audience to commit violence. And you say it over and over and over again. But now here comes the irony. What that does is get me to go, if a Republican is talking, a Republican is lying. I'm not gonna listen to any of the trash that comes out of your trash mouth, okay? So I'm not interested in a freaking conversation with monsters like Matt Walsh. So, hey, find people that aren't lunatics, find people who don't lie every time they talk, then I'm happy to have a conversation.
I guess what we should do is we should pull the mirror away from you, Cenk. Right? Is that what we need to do? Pull that big glass mirror away from your big ass body? Right? Is that what we should do?
Very happy to have it. I'm so open-minded, I switched parties, okay? So it's not like I can't do that. It's not like I can't say, oh, that's an interesting point, or that's a good point, right? But when you lie 24/7, you've lost all credibility. Which person would talk to a right-wing these days, these guys like Walsh and Candace Owens and Crowder and Alex Jones, all these lunatics, and go, I wonder what they have to say. Well, that's so interesting. It's not at all interesting.
Finally, we end with something that's unrelated, kind of unrelated. Anyway, he gets asked about his comments on Singapore. Let's watch.
I'll just have to question, some of your public policy, expertise when, I'm reading here, Singapore is able to have nice things in part because they execute drug dealers by hanging and arrest even petty vandals and thieves and beat them with a cane until they bleed. We don't have nice things here because we aren't willing to do what is required to maintain them. So, with statements like that, I kind of have to question your public policy beliefs.
Man, they really came prepared. I didn't even know he said that about Singapore.
Hey, national Democrats, go down to Tennessee. Check out the Tennessee Democrats, because apparently they're willing to kick some ass and take some names. You guys could use a lesson or two. Thanks for watching the Young Turks.
So they bring this policy statement in that in Singapore, they kill drug dealers, which, hey, I agree with that policy. Why not? Somebody is killing, and somebody has been killing hundreds and thousands and millions of people. If you aggregate it across with the war on drugs, someone's peddling in drugs, they're a drug dealer. Have a policy that, guess what? Not just for an ounce or so or this or that, but if you're moving kilos and bricks and you get caught in whatever, absolutely death penalty for you. And you know what? If they're caning and they do that in Singapore, what are you going to do? You're going to be upset because some other country is smacking somebody with a piece of wood for a little bit? Hey, if it stops the recidivism rate, so what? They're not going to, but you know what? Matt was right. He said, we're not willing to do the things that we need to do to stop crime. We do the things that will do what? And you guys, at the Young Turks, the Young Jerks, you would rather see criminals let go easy. You would rather let criminals get no bail, right? You rape somebody, no bail. You burglarize somebody, no bail. You murder somebody, no bail. I mean, right? I mean, is that what you're talking about? So this guy, this idiot, and for you to tell the Democrats, yeah, I want all you National Democrats, go down to Tennessee so you can become part of the acronym SIMR. SIMR, so you all can become more stupid, more idiotic, more moronic, and more retarded. Please, I implore you, go down to Tennessee and listen to how these stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded Democrats are over there. Abso-freaking-lutely. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I love doing this reaction to these guys here, folks. I loved it. And I dare these guys, I dare you at the Young Turks to come on and give your rebuttal to my video. You won't, because you know everything that I said about it was absolutely 100% true. And I found the faults and the spin and some of the obfuscation and even some of the lies that you guys were throwing in, especially about that study. Come on, I dare you. I double dare you. I triple dare you. I quadruple dare you to put up a reaction video to this one here. You won't do it because you're too scared. That's why you're also called the Yellow Turkeys. Folks, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And boy, am I always right. And when you're left like these progressives, you're so wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.